Hello, happy Tuesday. It's 4:20, or a little after, as you can tell, a little after. But no matter what time it is, it's always time for hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
It is time for hemp, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be anywhere in Portland, Oregon, I can tell you that. The weather's fantastic. We got good herb. It's legal to utilize, whether it's for medicine or, I don't know, what do they call that? Social use, recreational use, just any kind of use is just groovy here in Portland, Oregon. Did a good show yesterday. Having problems getting the message out, though, as I was posting about the show and the various cannabis groups and hemp groups and marijuana groups and dab groups and all the other groups that focus on this wonderful plant. I was posting about the show, hoping people would find it, tune in and watch it. We get, more viewers for it so that people can get the message and shares with their friends. And guess what? Jeepers. Facebook slowed me down. They are the corporate. They own us. Like it or not. They said because I was posting in too many groups too quickly, they blocked my ability to post in other groups but my own till Thursday morning. So, if you're watching this show, I need you to help promote this show. Post this show in your cannabis groups and your marijuana groups and your dab groups and all that stuff. I can't do it. Normally I would do it, but I'm crippled right now, and I really need the help of my audience and the help of those who love us here. So, until Thursday morning, I'm having problems promoting Facebook videos on Facebook because Facebook says I promote the Facebook videos on Facebook to too many Facebook groups and to too many Facebook members too quickly on Facebook. I think Facebook wants us to put out a little promo about the video about 1 hour. so that I can reach one group an hour with my message, while Faith Group reaches everybody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So really, it is. We've been telling you it's important that you share us with your friends, that you share these URLs. You tell people about our website. You tell people about what we're doing. You let them know how important it is to end cannabis prohibition, and of course, take time for hemp. Yesterday, on the show yesterday, we gave out the If You Award to Attorney Jeff Sessions, so you might want to make it a point to tune in to that show from yesterday as you help promote it. Make it a point to check it out. We'll be giving that out once a month at least, just because we can. Great hit here. Today is News Day, and we like to share news when we can. A lot of you are busy working and traveling, on vacation, laying out in the sun, getting a nice suntan, I don't know, maybe reading a book in an air conditioner, doing all kinds of things besides checking up on news around the internet on cannabis. And so what we like to do here is check up on news for you and find important segments that we think are important anywhere and share them with you. And if you like what we share with you, then maybe you'll share it with your friends. Make a comment down below there. Hit the like button and maybe let people know that what you're thinking about, what you saw, if you liked our show, if you thought our show was silly, whatever. I mean, we're not going to edit your comments, but we do appreciate good comments as often as possible. And also, check out our sponsors. There's a little down there below me. You see, say hi to our sponsors. Well, we mean that. It's with our sponsors that we are being heard. And you get to see this for free. You get to go to the timeforhemp.com website for free. And time-for-hemp.com website for free. And download over 30,000 audios, podcasts with the founders of the cannabis movement. Right there for you to share with your community. And they're all packed with great information about how cannabis is used for medicinal purposes, or industrial hemp can be used to create so many great creature products. And they're by experts, and they're of value. So say thank you to our sponsors for helping to make that happen. And I did say, it is News Day. And on News Day, we, like I said, like to share some of the current things that's going on with this plant. Some places, eyes are opening for the first time. And some places, eyes have been open for a long time, and they are making a lot of progress, either in the field, the field of cannabis, or in the field of marijuana reform. So I came across this one on the internet. I don't know if all of you have had a chance to see it, but down in Tennessee, it's difficult to get laws changed, and it's difficult to get a lot of people to think about cannabis in a positive light. And it looks to me like things are starting to happen that way. So,
medical marijuana. Representative Beth Harwell says she's looking into how the drug can help sick people. As News Channel 5's Kyle Horan explains, she's hoping to influence others in the State House as well.
She says it was something that happened to her sister, an injury that made her change how she feels about medical marijuana legalization in the state. Now she says she's going to make it her job to change the minds of the other people who make the laws in this room.
At her Nashville home, Speaker Harwell talked frankly about her experiences.
She actually was in a yoga position and a shoulder stand, and came down and just hit the wrong way and actually broke her back. And so she's had a tough 12 weeks of rehabilitation.
Harwell says her sister in Colorado took medical marijuana for about a week that numbed pain in her back. She's now open to the possibilities for people here in Tennessee.
If there is times when someone's suffering from cancer, someone's suffering from some other disorder where this could be beneficial, we want to have it available to them in a very limited circumstance.
Circumstances like that of Matt Walsing, who suffered from PTSD.
They've rated me at 70% disabled for PTSD. And just the fact that I am able to sit here in an unfamiliar environment and articulate myself on this subject is should show how much this medicine really can help.
Matt has tried marijuana for sleep issues. He says medical marijuana worked when all other prescription drugs he tried made him hallucinate.
There are actual medicinal applications to this, and have someone as prominent as the Speaker of the House step out and say, hey, I want to know more, at least show us the research. That's the opportunity we've been jumping at.
Hartwell says any plan is far off, but the work on a bill is starting already. Kyle Horan, News Channel 5.
Now, Hartwell is running for governor, but it's unclear if she plans to run on that issue.
I think she should. She's a pretty informative candidate, and it looks like we need people like her in the state of Tennessee to make headway. So if you get a chance, contact her campaign. Also contact the news station that reported that and let them know how much you appreciated that information being put into the public domain. And then another interesting report that I came across that a lot of people might have missed is how, do you not know that an 11-year-old can actually sue not just anybody, but the government, and to do so on behalf of getting her medical marijuana? Now, I know that sounds a little out there, a little far-fetched, like maybe I've been hitting the pipe too much. It's not her parents who are suing on her behalf. It's not her doctor. It's her. And if this little girl, at the age of 11, already knows how to contact a lawyer, hire a lawyer, and file a lawsuit, can you imagine what kind of person she's going to be when she grows up? If she becomes an activist, she just might be turning the whole world around. You never know. And like I said, you just never know. One voice can make a big difference. One person can make a big change. And that's true with this little girl right here.
An 11-year-old girl from Rowlett is taking on the U.S. government, suing over medical marijuana.
She says it's something that has changed her life, and our Andrea Lucia spoke with her via Skype today from her new home in Colorado.
I usually black out.
When we first met Alexis Bortel, she was a 9-year-old living in Rowlett, suffering from seizures and lobbying state lawmakers for the legalization of medical marijuana.
I don't want to leave Texas. I'm a Texas girl.
Today, she is a resident of Colorado, legally treating her epilepsy with cannabis oil derived from marijuana plants.
I'm actually doing what I call pretty good. 866 days seizure-free.
Now it is federal law she wants to change.
Kids like me and their families, we can't travel to places like Yellowstone or, I'd say, the Capitol.
Bortel is one of 5 plaintiffs suing the federal government over its classification of marijuana as a Schedule I drug, which prevents her from traveling places where it is still illegal. Her attorneys argue the government's own policies contradict themselves.
So the federal government, on the one hand, is saying cannabis is so dangerous it can't be tested and has no medical application at all. And at the same time, the United States government has a medical patent saying that it does have medical applications.
Bortel says she tries to win over critics who oppose her medical choices.
We do try to talk to them, and we do want to educate them. But sometimes, they're just haters.
Convincing the Department of Justice or even President Donald Trump himself. That, she thinks, would be something.
Very good. Yeah, amazing, actually.
Andrea Lucia, CBS 11 News.
So the lawsuit was filed July 24th. The federal government has not yet responded, but Texans with certain forms of epilepsy, like Bortel, are set to gain legal access to medical marijuana within the next year, but they will be limited to low THC versions of the drug, which Bortel says did not work for her.
An 11-year-old
Sad that an 11-year-old child has to file a lawsuit just to get her medication. I mean, you know, you think an adult can make it happen, a doctor can make it happen, an adult judge or lawyer could just step in and intervene and go, boom, boom, let's not go through the hassle of this child having to pay for a lawyer, pay for court costs, and wait and wait and wait for the proceedings to be announced and moved through before she can actually deal with taking her medication without being a criminal. Right? You'd think so, right? But not good old Uncle Sam. For some reason, Uncle Sam seems opposed to it, and I can tell you what that reason is. It's the money involved. It's the lobbyists involved. It's the number of people who are trying to cash in on this cash crop. And I can certainly tell you, these are the people who are being hurt by this. Well, here's another groovy report that I thought you might find of interest. You know, we were talking about medical cannabis and all the good things that it can do for you. Well, one of the things that it can do for you is it can also help you if you're dealing with Parkinson's disease.
If you've ever wanted to find credible information on how medical marijuana can help with Parkinson's disease, then this video is for you. Parkinson's disease is a chronic and progressive disease of the nervous system. Its symptoms include tremor, muscular rigidity, and imprecise movement. The basal ganglia of the brain is responsible for mobility and a target of the disease. It has a large concentration of cannabinoid receptors, also called the endocannabinoid system. When you consume cannabis, compounds called cannabinoids engage the endocannabinoid system. This leads to the regulation of mobility, muscular flexibility, sleep, memory, and much more.
The best way to take it is put it under your tongue and rub it in your cheek. Don't do too much, you're going to be asleep all afternoon. You know what you should do? No, don't try to communicate, just relax. See what happens.
We know from animal experiments that the endogenous cannabinoid system is very important in regulating motor activity, that very type of activity that is impaired in Parkinson's disease. From animal experiments, we also know that boosting certain branches of the endocannabinoid system is helpful in relieving symptoms of Parkinson's. Finally, from anecdotal information, we know that certain patients who smoke marijuana experience relief of their symptoms.
I think you're calmed down. Isn't that amazing?
He used just a single drop, and his hands afterwards were rock steady, and the dyskinesia left.
It was coming back. It works most of the time.
That is. Did you guys eat lunch?
Are you hungry now?
We see positive results in various studies. Thanks to a study in Israel, more than 20,000 patients there currently receive medical marijuana under a federally regulated program. More than 90% of the patients who participated in the study reported significant improvements in both pain relief and motor functions. The use of CBD oil and medical marijuana has also shown success in various studies when it comes to giving patients suffering from Parkinson's a more natural way of promoting neurological recovery without the side effects that come from prescription drugs. Click the link in the video now and learn which treatment is best for you by visiting ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. If you've ever wanted to
Amazing, isn't it? To see right there in front of your eyes something like that happen, and yet it's illegal, right? I mean, a little girl had to file a lawsuit to get it. This guy is dealing with Parkinson, and if he's in a handful of states like Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, I don't know, he could be arrested for taking his medication. His children can be taken from him or her for using their medication. I mean, this is really nonsense. When we see right in front of our eyes proof. It's not like we think, we assume, we have theory that maybe, just maybe, this plant will work for medicinal purposes. It's not true. We know for a fact. And you think our lawmakers would get up off their fannies and make a dang bit of difference. Well, we're going to take a commercial break right now, and when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seed.
Hey, Bob. What's up, man?
I'm just surfing all over the web, trying to find some info on medical marijuana and the best strains of cannabis, advice for growers.
Looks like you're having a hard time, bro.
There's gotta be 1 million websites out there.
True, but you really only need one website to find out what you need. It'll save you a bunch of time.
Sounds great. What is it?
Check out Cannafo.com. Cannafo.com.
That's right, Tommy and Bob. Cannafo.com is the world's first online directory, marketplace, news portal, growing advice resource, and social media platform for all things cannabis.
Dude, where's that voice coming from?
You hear that too? Maybe we ought to cut back a little.
Cannafo.com is the Google, Facebook, and Craigslist of cannabis. It even has its own social media platform. Cannafo.com puts everything cannabis in one place for consumers, business, and growers. Cannafo.com is a free service where you can find over 9,000 different strains of cannabis.
Whoa!
Shop cannabis classifieds and much, much more. Cannafo.com. Visit today and get in the know with Cannafo.
I love the people at Cannafo. They have a way of keeping you in the know. And for those of you who are on the go, who are trying to keep your act in tow, I would encourage you, to head on down to Cannafo. See, you young kids think that you're the only ones who can rap. I can keep up with all you Bettys and Barneys. Anyway, we are doing a news day today. And people think that because I use this and I don't know how to find news or interesting news, or that I'm not able to understand what is news. I'll tell you what's true. We are not fake news. We will tell you the truth about this plant. There's a lot of people that will tell you things like marijuana is bad for you. Good people do not use cannabis. If you smoke pot, you're going to go to hell. I got news for all of you. If I smoke pot, I'm going to live longer and have a better life. They have found that people who... Now, give me a minute to get this out. Because people go, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't care. And this is the statistics. People who smoke marijuana and cigarettes live an average of 7 years longer than people who smoke just cigarettes. And people who smoke marijuana live an average of 11 years longer than people who smoke nothing at all. And that's the marijuana smoker only smoking marijuana. So if you only smoke marijuana and the person alongside you smokes nothing at all, you're going to live 11 years longer than the person standing next to you. I'm thinking it's because either you're smoking such good herb that when the angel of death goes to tap you on the shoulder, it takes your pipe instead. It takes a hit and goes, yeah, I'm coming back for another hit of that shit. Or, if the angel of death taps you on the shoulder, you're just too high to know, and you just ignore it. Go away, I'm busy, I'm hitting this pipe, leave me alone. But either way, we live 11 years longer than people who don't smoke pot. So don't sit there and tell me smoking marijuana is bad for you. Screw you. No, it's not. Smoking cannabis is probably the best thing for me. It's the best thing for you. It cuts back on high blood pressure diseases like heart attack and stroke. It makes the circulation and your blood flow a little more smooth, a little more in rhythm with your system. Makes it so you can focus more on different things in life that are really, it gets your priorities in straight. You're not always stressed over the little things in life. So, and I can certainly tell you, when you're smoking this, it's a lot easier to put up with people who have no clue about cannabis, who say stupid shit, than it is when you're not smoking this. So those of you who don't smoke marijuana and think it's bad for you, you need to be glad that I do smoke this stuff, because if I wasn't high, I would probably bitch slap you for saying such stupid shit out loud in public. My mama always said, it's better to keep your mouth shut and let people think you're stupid than to open your mouth and let them know that they are right. So, I would encourage anybody who thinks cannabis, marijuana, industrial hemp, medical cannabis, whatever you want to call it, ganja, blah, it's bad for you. Google it. Check out the scientists. Check out the doctors. Check out the researchers. Check out the people who have studied it and studied it and studied it and see what they have to say. Just might open your mind. I don't know. And, you know, there is a lot of ways to open your mind, and this is one of them too. It's from Leafy. I love Leafy. They're a group of people that rock.
Hi, it's me, Regina, with Leafly's Cannabis 101. You ask, we answer. So today we'll be giving you a brief guide to the anatomy of the cannabis plant itself. When examining a cannabis bud, you'll notice a complex combination of different parts. The fiery orange hairs, the sugary crystals, the chunky knobs enveloped by tiny leaves. But what are these formations and what functions do they serve? Here are 6 quick facts that we hope can bring you a little bit closer to your favorite strain source. Number 1, male versus female. Cannabis plants can be male, female, or both, but the one that's in your stash jar now should be female. Female cannabis plants are the ones that produce the large resin-secreting flowers that are trimmed down to the smaller, more round and pointed buds you're used to seeing. Male plants, on the other hand, produce smaller spheres near the base of the leaves. The male plants also pollinate the females to initiate seed production, but the potent flowers we consume come from the seedless female plants, which grow large cannabinoid-rich buds without any seeds. Growers can ensure the sex of their plants by growing clones, the genetically identical clippings from a parent strain. Number 2, stems and nodes. The cannabis plant is made up of several structures, many of which we can find on any ordinary flowering plant. But the cannabis plant itself grows on long, skinny stems with large, iconic fan leaves which extend out from areas called nodes. Number 3, colas. Not soda. We're talking about the terminal bud. Cola refers to the plant's bud site, where tight female flowers bloom. The main cola, sometimes called the apical bud, forms at the very top of the plant, while smaller colas occur along the budding sites at each node below. The number and size of cannabis colas can be increased through a variety of growing techniques. Number 4, calyxes. To the untrained eye, cannabis buds just look like a knobbly tangle of leaves, but the calyx is what actually comprises the female flower. Look closely underneath those tiny leaves, called sugar leaves, and you'll find those tear-shaped nodules. These are the calyxes, and they come in many different shapes, sizes, and colors. Calyxes typically contain high concentrations of trichomes, the glands that secrete THC and the other cannabinoids we treasure. Number 5, pistils. Out from the calyxes peek tiny red-orange hairs, vibrant strands called pistils, and they serve to collect pollen from males. Pistils begin with a white coloration and progressively darken to yellow, amber, and brown over the course of the plant's maturation. While they do play an important role in reproduction, pistils actually bring very little to the flower's potency and taste, but they do add some color and influence the visual appeal of each strain. Number 6, trichomes. Despite their minuscule size, it's hard to miss the blanket of crystal resin on a cannabis bud. This resin, or keef when dry, is secreted through translucent mushroom-shaped glands on the leaves, stems, and calyxes. Trichomes were originally developed to protect the plant against predators and the elements. These clear bulbous globes ooze aromatic oils called terpenes, as well as therapeutic cannabinoids like THC and CBD. The basis of concentrate production depends on the trichomes and the potent sugar-like resin. And that's the gist of it, the 6 main components of the female cannabis plant we all know and love. If you're interested in finding out more, we have plenty of additional info on our free app or at leafly.com. Oh, and if you have a question for our cannabis experts here at Leafly, be sure to leave it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you, and we might even answer your question in a future video. Well, that's it for this episode. Come back next week for another fresh look at a brand new cannabis topic. This has been Regina for Leafly. See you next time.
Aren't they a good group of people? That's why we have a lot of their posts on our website and our news feeds and our Twitters. They're well researched. They're a grounded group of people. They're down to earth. They have a handful of top-notch scientists on their team as well. And I can certainly tell you they have their heart in the right spot, and they're trying to make it so that the cannabis industry can not only grow but flourish. So if you get a chance, please go to Leafly.com and tell them that you heard about them here on the big broadcast at Time for Hemp. Also, check out our sponsors. Tell our sponsors thank you for making it possible for this content to be free to you. I'm serious. We've had to find new avenues and new ways to stay alive, and I would hate to think that Time for Hemp would end up being a time capsule of a bunch of podcasts full of information and facts. And I would like to think that it's going to continue to be a spot where you can find current information and people are sharing new facts all the time. So help us to grow. Get it? Help us to grow. And those of you who've been watching know that we're growing here in the apartment. And there's a lot of wonderful things about this plant that people are blind to. There is a group of people on the internet. They've got a new channel. Well, it's new to me. I came across them. They're Mary Jane News. So if you get a chance to, please go to Mary Jane News on YouTube and check them out and tell them that you heard about them here on the big broadcast. They like to educate people as well, too, about how important it is to end the cannabis prohibition. And with that said, there's no point in me saying much more, especially when they say it so well themselves. And it gives me a chance to what? Hit my pipe here on the big broadcast.
So what's the difference between hemp and pot? Hemp and marijuana, though they have different qualities, people often use both of these terms interchangeably. So, do you know the difference between the two? Hemp and marijuana belong to the same species of plant, Cannabis sativa. Cannabis is believed to be one of the oldest domesticated crops, first cultivated 10,000 years ago in what is now Taiwan. These early cultivators realized that there were two different kinds of cannabis plants. One was tall, strong, and durable, while the other contained flowers that had a medicinal effect when smoked. Over centuries of cultivation, the durable plant became what is now known as hemp, and the latter medicinal plant became known as cannabis, or marijuana. Hemp contains little to no THC, which means that you can't get high from smoking it. Marijuana plants can contain 5 to 20% THC on average. Until the 20th century, hemp plants were harvested for their strong fibers, and 80% of the world's textiles and fabrics were made of hemp. Of all the paper made in the world before 1883, 75 to 90% was hemp-based. When European settlers first came to America, they were required to grow hemp. Virginia, Massachusetts, and Connecticut had mandatory hemp growing laws in the early 1600s. Hemp was considered legal tender in America up until the 1800s, and you could even pay your taxes with hemp. But because hemp and marijuana come from the same plant, the industrial cultivation of hemp was banned with the passing of the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, which classified cannabis as a Schedule I drug. American companies still use hemp in their products, but due to the prohibition of cannabis, companies import $500 million worth of hemp into the U.S. every year. Today, hemp is used to produce paper, environmentally friendly plastic substitutes, fiberboards, clothing, and much more. In 2014, President Obama signed the Farm Bill, which clarified the legal difference between hemp and marijuana to pave the way for farmers to grow hemp while pot remains illegal. Cannabis plants containing under 0.3% of THC can legally be defined as hemp, while cannabis plants containing more THC are defined as marijuana. This year, a bipartisan group of senators plans to reintroduce the Industrial Hemp Farming Act before Congress, which would remove the Schedule I classification of hemp, allowing American farmers to return to growing what was once one of the country's most vibrant crops. Now, if only the government would figure out legalizing marijuana next.
Exactly, right? If only the government could figure out how to legalize cannabis next. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Well, it's pretty easy to do. Move it from Schedule 1, right? Ta-da! I'm thinking that's about all you got to do. And then after that, it's up to the farmers to get the seed out there and planted. And then after that, it's up to the people who know how to create businesses and products to figure out how to use this wonderful plant to create fantastic products in their own community, thus making jobs in their own community. How cool would that be, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just high. Maybe I'm just thinking like that because I'm just a little high. Maybe it is good that just one big mega monopoly owns everything. I don't know. Anyway, if you think that it's good to have a lot of competition and a lot of businesses around, then do make it a point to visit our sponsors here on the Big Broadcast, please.
Growcentia has developed Mammoth P, an organically derived soil inoculant that maximizes phosphorus and micronutrient cycling to maximize bud growth, increase yield, and enhance plant health. Mammoth P's patent-pending technology is OMRI certified. The increased levels of phosphorus and other micronutrients result in increased stem strength and a 16% increase in harvest yield. Mammoth P is effective in soil, soilless, and hydroponic systems. This biostimulant microbial product really works synergistically with any nutrient and fertilizers in your management and feeding regime. Incorporate Mammoth P into your feeding protocols as a supplement to any fertilizer program. Mammoth P is being used by growers, commercial and hobbyists throughout the U.S. Go to mammothmicrobes.com to find a store near you or to order through one of the company's online partners. That's mammothmicrobes.com, scientifically proven to grow mammoth buds.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio. Please share us with your friends. And we do mean that. Please share us with your friends. That's how we are located, shared. People get the information, and we get to grow. And the more we grow, it was like any plant. The stronger it is, the better the harvest. The harvest is the end of cannabis prohibition. The end is people no longer going to jail for using their medication. The harvest is farmers being able to have a cash crop. The harvest is people in local areas having jobs. Well, I tell you, we have been at this broadcasting for quite a while. We do need your support, so please hit the a button down there that says like, share us with your friends. You can go to the time-for-hemp.com website, and there's a donate button if you want to donate some cash to us. That would rock. We've got a gift shop. If you make a purchase in our gift shop, it helps to support the network, which we really certainly appreciate, because as you support the network, again, we get louder. Now, I'm not kidding when I say we've been around for a while. One of the guests I had a long time ago, back when I had hair, was a guy by the name of Dr. Timothy Leary. Now, there's many of you in the audience only know him by name, and many of you don't even know his name. But those of you who only know his name, or who do not know his name, first thing you should do is get his autobiography. It's amazing. But Dr. Timothy Leary is considered the father of LSD. He is the one that really got it all going. Tune in, tune out, and drop in, and drop out, or what. I can't, what can I say? My memory sometimes isn't always what it should be. He was also arrested. They found about a half a joint, maybe a half a bag in his backseat of his car, because they were out to get him anyway. And they put him in jail for like 10 or 15 years. And he was broken out of jail. A helicopter flew into the jail that he was in, and he boarded the helicopter, made away, got into a getaway car, got across the border, and into 2 countries away, where he wrote a groovy book, and then later came back and returned to America and ended up being a professor at Berkeley. So I can certainly tell you his life is a fascinating piece of history, not just for the cannabis movement or the drug movement, if you want to use that, but for the human movement, those of us who are part of the human race. Now, there's some of us who are not part of the human race. People like Jeff Sessions, and we're not sure what he is. Well, we know he's a bonehead, that we know, but anyway, so we're going to close the show out with my interview with Dr. Timothy Leary. He had just written his autobiography, and a friend of mine worked at the publishing company that he had his book published through, and they were throwing a party for the company. And my friend asked me to be her escort so that she wouldn't be at the party alone, but then as she got to the party, if she found a guy that she wanted to go have a drink with later after the party, she could just ditch me and not feel bad. So I went, all right, sure, what the heck. Free herb, free dinner, free drinks, why not? Place in Hollywood. Well, Timothy Leary comes into the party, and this big entourage around him. He's got his publicist, he's got his secretary, he's got, I don't know, he's got like, he's one of the first people who had an entourage. I tell you, he just moved in a group. And he went around and met a lot of people. When he came over to Sharon's table, the lady who brought me to the party, I figured he knew her, and the two of them were going to talk, and he did know her. But before he said, hello, Sharon, he looked at me and said, oh, aren't you Casper Leach? And I looked at him and went, yes, I am. And it kind of baffled me. He goes, I watched that silly little show you do called Time for Hemp. I went, really? He says, yeah, I live up in Berkeley, and your TV show airs up in Berkeley, and I just love it. Jack Hare's been on there. I love Jack. Jack and I are friends. And he said that he appreciated Chris Conrad and the other guests that I had on there, and he would like to be a guest on my show, which blew my mind. The father of LSD, not only did he watch my show, he wanted to be a guest on it. So that rocked. Now, I'll show you later on another video clips, but after I found out that I was going to have the father of marijuana, LSD, as a guest on my show, I got a hold of Jack Hare. Jack had been part of the smoked marijuana study at UCLA, funded by the United States government, headed up by Dr. Taskin. And I think that's the full name of the study. I'm serious. You got to say all that crap. So anyway, so I asked Jack if he could get me to be part of that study, and so I could use it as a roll-in for the Timothy Leary show. And Jack did manage to arrange to get me as part of that study, and I became the first activists to be filmed at a legal marijuana site where they had legal marijuana by the United States government. Anyway, I'll get into that later, but we had that as a roll-in for this show, and Timothy Leary was charming, animated, funny, on top of his dime, and 8 months later, he passed away. And it turned out that this was one of the last video interviews of him. He did one for, I think, Later TV, and I think he did one for 2020 after this one. And then we lost a great icon. And I was very fortunate to have made a friend of him and to have been able to sit alongside him and laugh with him. He was truly a charming individual, and again, if you get the opportunity to check out his biography, please do. So anyway, we're going to have a big feed tomorrow. I didn't get a chance to do any promos for what's in tomorrow's feed. I can tell you it's going to be a lot of stuff about cannabis, hemp, and oh jeepers. Tomorrow, let's just let it be a surprise. And then remember, the next time you see me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. Tonight on our show, we have a very unusual and a unique guest. Unusual in the sense that he has spent a lifetime defending the sanctuary of the individual and trying to bring about the importance that government stays out of the individual's life and the individual's allowed to make their own choices. Brilliant, he's a futurist. He's able to foresee farther down the road than many of his contemporaries and tries his best to bring forth his knowledge and his insights. Please welcome on our show, Dr. Timothy Leary.
Well, Casper, it's a pleasure to be here. I approve very highly of your program. I understand it's growing nationwide now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How many cities are you in now?
At present, we're in 80 cities and in 44 states.
Oh, boy, that's good.
And getting the word out like this is very exciting. Now, you've always been known as the highest rider of every generational wave.
The what?
The highest rider of every generational wave. You've been the forefront. You've been there from the World War II to the early 60s, the 70s, able to, speak the voice and be heard and foresee it. Realizing this, how do you think the wave of the hemp movement is going to settle into the population and break upon the shores of our ecology problems?
Break at the shores of our ecology problem.
Yes, sir.
I can see that. Oceans of green hemp doing that. The present laws against hemp, I think, are the most irrational and I would say almost insane pieces of puritanical legislation. Maybe you have to go back to the Salem witchcraft trials to get something where so much hysteria has picked out something so benign and so harmless and so profitable and so productive and had this all-out moral, fierce, religious campaign against hemp. Why do you think that there is this religious, fundamentalist, and police government prejudice against hemp? Well, how do you explain it?
My personal views, I feel that it stems from a lot of the oil companies and the people who can make money off it being illegal, keeping it illegal, and put together a propaganda campaign to mislead the public. And I feel that it will set into the people's mind eventually when the truth is more exposed. Now,
I understand that we're not going to talk about the religious or the emotional, psychological aspects of hemp.
The recreational purposes.
Yeah, we won't talk about that at all. We're going to talk about the practical and the profitable and productive.
Yes, sir.
And the ecological aspects of it.
Absolutely.
I don't know a lot about that. I've read books by Jack Herrera. I've listened. Gosh, there's so many programs and so many articles these days. Everywhere you turn around, you hear intelligent discussions about hemp as a substitute for oil, hemp as a substitute for wood pulp, hemp as a source of energy. It's exciting. The thing that I know most about, however, is the puritanical crusade against hemp. Because, I was in prison for 4.5 years.
For under an ounce, right? For
the possession of 2 roaches which had been planted in my car by a generous, overly generous policeman. And at one point I found myself in prison facing like 50 years imprisonment. I was 50 years at the time, 50 years old, when this is a strange series of events for such a harmless and even beneficial situation to be charged with so much time.
Now, you escaped from there too, didn't you? The first time.
Well, I did what any sensible 50-year-old would do if you're facing 50 years in prison for 2 roaches of marijuana that they planted in your car. The only common sense thing to do was to escape, and I did that, and made a few little B-movie adventures there. But, there are many things in our society that have to be controlled and governed. For example, oil. Look at the way oil is polluting and our atmosphere and acid rain and so forth. Guns should be controlled. I think drugs like steroids should be controlled. I think there should be probably more control over alcohol and nicotine, and of all of the botanical, vegetable species that the government is attacking, marijuana is the one they're going after. That's interesting. You know, I sometimes say that hemp is a democratic plant because it was during the democratic regime of Jimmy Carter that hemp was legalized in 14 states, and Carter himself and his cabinet wanted to decriminalize marijuana. And in 1980, you had the Republicans coming in with a hard line, typical crush them, down them.
Just say no.
Yeah, and suddenly the new drugs, which are everywhere, are drugs that I never heard of back in the 60s and the late 70s. Things like crack and cocaine and steroids, they didn't exist. So I call them the Republican drugs. Now they're Republican drugs, why? Because Republicans are hardliners, like to feel tough and aggressive, and I'm number one, and we're going to go over there and we're going to, kick butt. And if you're going to go out there and loot a lot of savings and loans companies, and if you're going to go out there, you got to have a lot of energy, and you got a lot of self-confidence. You got to take toot up with cocaine or a little steroids there. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course, is the typical example of the steroid. We call him Conan the Republican, whereas the one thing about the use of hemp as a drug, I've had to warn Republicans about this. If you're a Republican and you're a hardliner and you want to go out there and kick and stretch and get yourself to the top, and if you're in the army or the police or anything like that, you want to have to be tough and mean, and stay away from hemp. Because hemp will turn you into a wimp. I mean, really. Look at Carter. He was believing in peace and love, and we stopped
all the wrong things, right?
All the terrible things.
All the terrible things.
You understand why? Right now, the government is spending much more money crushing the production of hemp. And another thing that puzzles me about the insanity or even the diabolical nature of the right-wing religious Republican situation. Why do they go after the American farmers? They spend more money fighting hemp in this country. You know, in California, which is my home state, hemp was the #1 agricultural cash product. In Iowa, in Tennessee, and
back in Indiana, where I'm from.
Yeah,
as
how
well.
many states?
At least that we're aware of, 28 or more.
Yeah, honest farmers out there trying to make a living growing hemp. And the government is out there arresting these good-hearted, free enterprise farming agricultural Americans. Meanwhile, down in Colombia and Peru, these gangsters, these cocaine cartel people, are making billions of dollars, and we're spending less money on them. It's how come? I think you're probably right that they don't want people to be using hemp because it would interfere with the oil monopoly. It would interfere with the wood pulp monopoly. And also, I think there's something really religiously diabolic and evil about the right-wing Christians in this country who go after hemp because they hate people to have pro-choice and to make your own decisions about your life. And
they seem to be some of the people, too, who overlook the medical aspects of
absolutely,
hemp.
Yeah.
Now, from your perspective and being a psychiatrist as you are, you've had the opportunity to become acquainted with many different aspects of healing and some of the more positive benefits of the uses of hemp. Could you share that, please?
Well, there have been an enormous number of studies that show that that hemp and cannabis was extremely necessary for certain forms of glaucoma. You simply have to have it. There, in many states, these fanatic anti-pleasure people are so afraid that the patient who's going blind might enjoy the experience that you got to go blind and die, but don't have a good time because the Republicans are in power. I mean, that's apparently the logic here.
Aren't they using it too for anorexia and for cancer, AIDS?
I mean, there's one terrible thing about hemp, and I don't want to get into the use of marijuana, but I got to be honest with you. There are some terrible side effects of smoking or using marijuana. One is it's called refrigerator blackout. I mean, you get the munchies.
Oh, okay.
You know, you smoke a joint, and suddenly there you are. The next thing you know, you've eaten 9 pounds of fig Newton, and say that's dangerous. You gotta be careful there. On the other hand, if you're dying of cancer or malnourished because of stomach problems and you don't have any appetite, hemp, of course, is the logical and obvious and natural medicine to give you an appetite to see you through that period. But again, a good true Puritan would rather have you die than have a good meal while you're giggling.
We also know that it's good for stress to calm you down. And from a viewpoint of a psychiatrist, is there any benefits for someone who might be having emotional or mental problems, as opposed to giving them like Valiums or some of these other stronger drugs that seem to be causing problems, like Prozac and so on?
Yeah. Well, number one, I don't want to come out like a smart ass here, and every psychological situation is individual and needs its own, its own pharmacology. So I don't want to generalize, but certainly the things about hemp is it's not addictive. It's extremely it doesn't have any of the side effects of many of the euphorics and the antidepressants that are approved and that doctors' prescriptions will give you. So, yeah, there's a... you see, the thing about religious fanaticism is that the crazier, the nuttier, the wilder, and almost the more nonsensical the belief, the more you hang on to it. So that I've debated for many years a man who was the head of the DEA for about 5 years. His name is Peter Bensinger.
Yeah, she have.
And I can't believe him. He's going after hemp, and he's trying to say that, hemp, they gave a lot of some mice some hemp, and it made male mice, teenage male mice, and it made their breasts grow a little. So he said, why, these college boys, you see if I'm going to, I think, why is he going at the real problems of crack babies in the inner city and alcohol, which is our #1 drug here, and nicotine, 500,000 people die a year from that. Here's this guy blathering on about the dangers of I don't know. He never did mention whether marijuana would make girls' breasts bigger, but I don't even want to get into that. The whole thing is.
Now
so
you've
silly.
also had a few debates with G. Gordon Liddy too.
Yeah, that's right. I had that. Yeah.
And he seems to think that marijuana, i.e., hemp, is one of the plants that's going to lead to a complete social breakdown in our structure of government. And you seem
Well,
to
I
stand...
know Gordon Liddy. I've been debating him. I've known him for years, over 25 years. I know exactly how his mind works. And like a good army man, like a good military man, like a good policeman, like a good follower of his leader, Richard Nixon.
Okay.
Gordon Liddy has never had one unauthorized thought in his life. So he reads the line, so he knows that's what is it? LSD makes you jump out of windows. Marijuana makes you, what is that? I forget what it is.
Let's say it's the gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug, yeah.
That's right, it's the gateway drug.
Yeah. So, I must say here, and I don't want to offend anyone, and if you're a deeply devout Christian, I want you to turn your TV off now, but I feel that there's a great problem in this country in a violation of our civil liberties and personal rights on the basis of the federal government interfering with women's bodies about abortion and these insane war on drugs. So the war on drugs is a war on Americans. It's not a war on Russians or evil communists and all that. It's a war against 40 or 50 million of us marijuana smokers in this country, which in a way seems like a weird thing that a majority in Congress should suddenly declare war on 30 million otherwise tax-paying, reasonably productive American citizens. I think that the basis is religion.
Okay.
And basis is that you're not allowed to choose what you want to do. It's like any fanatic religious, they'll tell you, you can't use contraceptives because you can't enjoy sex. And if you do conceive a baby, you have no choice about whether you want to bring this baby, when you can handle this baby. And the same thing is true about the choice of your own self-medication. And I personally believe that the war on drugs is the worst attack on American freedom that we've experienced in 200 years. You know, this is the 200th anniversary of the Bill of Rights. It was in 1791 that they passed those 10 wonderful bills. And basically, what most people don't realize is that the Bill of Rights and the Constitution is designed to protect the individual against the government. So the government can't come into your house without a search warrant. The government can't put soldiers in your house. The government can't force you to testify against yourself. The government can't tell you what to read or write. The government can't tell you how to worship your own God. The government can't tell you how to really mind your own business. So it's both ironic, and I think it's also very hopeful that in the year 1991, in the 200th anniversary of the Bill of Rights, this hemp movement is growing. And I want to tell you it is growing. I give a lot of the talks to students in colleges, and the awareness of the insanity of the marijuana laws is becoming, I think, more and more obvious.
That tells us that perhaps we are finally making an impact across the United States and perhaps around the world. We are really enjoying this interview, and we'll be right back after this. Thank you. Welcome back to Time for Hemp. Today on our show we have the distinguished Dr. Timothy Leary. Timothy, I think you've been aware of some of the changes in the laws here within the American structure of Congress, and all the way down to dog catcher opinions from Nancy Reagan swaying our opinions to just say no.
I have a motto in a bumper sticker and a t-shirt. It says, just say K-N-O-W, no. Think for yourself and don't believe what Nancy Reagan says. Don't believe what I say. Think for yourself and question authority, and you'll...
Well, because of this conservatism, though, some of the laws that were established during the Carter administration, such as decriminalization of marijuana, etc., are beginning to go back to another era, back when minds were narrow. In Alaska, they've changed the laws back to stiffen the laws.
We are going through a period now. It's what happened in the 60s and 70s. We had in this country a classic renaissance. Now read the history books. A renaissance is a period when there's a sudden surge in self-expression, in the rights of the individual, a loosening of the control of authority, a questioning of a religious dogma, and then a lurch forward. This is always followed by a hard-line retreat, so that it's at the same time that there has, in the last 10 years in America, under Reagan and Bush, been this very repressive hard line. Look what's happened to the rest of the world. You know, in Russia just 3 weeks ago, when they had that coup, and then a bunch of young people in Moscow protected Yeltsin and stopped the tanks. You know what it was that was stopping the tanks? It was young Russians, students, who were throwing flowers at the tanks.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Does that sound familiar? They learned that absolutely from the American in the 60s and 70s, when we were questioning the authority of Johnson and Nixon and stopping the Vietnam War. Another thing that was amusing about the Russian Revolution, and it's very connected with this, the three men young men who got shot by the tanks and were immediately promoted to the highest office or honor of the Soviet Union, the highest order of the land. They were three hippies. And, one was a Grateful Dead head, and one like heavy metal rock, and they let their hair grow, and they all had learned to smoke hashish in Afghanistan. And indeed, they were trying to stop the tanks because it was their brothers and their friends and their colleagues who were in the tanks, because it turned out that the Soviet soldiers that had been sent to Afghanistan hated the idea of going down there and killing Afghani people for no apparent reason. So that I'm very proud of the fact that although in America we've had this very predictable but very violent and mean and nasty Puritanism, and you can't smoke cigarettes, and they're censoring rock and roll records, and they're censoring books. Now, one by one, they're going down the list of personal freedoms. At the same time, the basic American freedoms, which we set going in the 60s, are appearing in the Soviet Union. I go over to Japan.
And ours are reversing, it seems like.
Yeah.
It seems like the hemp issue could be one of the last strong divides that we face as a body of people in America. Everybody seems to have an opinion, everybody seems upset. Make it legal,
I think
illegalize
that the hemp issue is the place where you can draw the line. And anyone who's watching this program, in your city, there's obviously a channel which is carrying this message. Get in touch with the people that are producing this show in your locality, and start embarrassing your local politicians by asking them, for example, of your congressmen and assemblymen and women, how many of you smoked marijuana when you were young, huh? We know that about 80% of the members of Congress under the age of 50 were smoking marijuana. How come they could do it and we can't do it?
There's even been reported rumors that people all the way up to the White House may have been involved
Not
with it.
the White House, oh my God. we do know that Ronald Reagan smoked marijuana because that came out in the book by Kitty Kelly. When Ronald Reagan was governor of California, I used to smoke marijuana. And you know, when you think about it, that explains everything about poor Ronnie Reagan. It shows you why Republicans should not smoke marijuana.
Why is that?
Well, the amnesia, the forgetfulness, the short-term memory loss, the cheerful, hey, what's wrong, baby? Everything's fine, even though the country's going down.
Yeah, okay.
The long naps after lunch. You know, I mean, Ronnie, come on, leave marijuana alone.
Now,
by the way, both Ronnie's children, Ron Jr. and Betty Davis, of course, kind of silly. The point I'm making here about the place, I think, to take a stand, abortion rights is one place, but marijuana, you can do it, the way to do it is through humor. Write letters to the editor. Challenge politicians as to whether they really think that alcohol is more dangerous than marijuana, and if so, why? And on a very common sense, logical, friendly, humorous
You've always been one for the wit and to tickle people with a laugh and make them think, I've noticed. You do what you can to stimulate the mind in a fun way.
That's the aim of the game.
I think that's oftentimes why you've been so misconstrued by your contemporaries. They can't take a joke.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm misunderstood. The number one way to bring down any repressive authoritarian regime is irreverence. And I pride myself, I think I have a very high IQ, that is irreverence quotient. Okay. And I have been a leading dissenter in this country during the Johnson administration, during the Nixon administration. I'm proud to have been, I'm proud that Richard Nixon called me the most dangerous man in America. I mean, after all, what an honor. And,
yeah, really.
And I want to urge those of you who just think for yourself, and the hemp issue is a wonderful issue to bring people together because it brings together ecology. It brings together a substitute for petroleum, which of course is the real Republican addictive drug. It's such an ecologically helpful situation. Above all, it prevents us from cutting down the Amazon rainforest for wood pulp, or cutting down for fiber, because we all know that hemp is by far the best material. So that there's something that's very wonderful about a plant, and that human beings kind of rally behind a plant. Those 5 wonderful leaves that kind of represent wonderful, and the great thing about it is the right-wing Republicans and the right-wing religious fanatics hate it. And you know why they hate it? Because it makes people feel free. It makes people free feel funny and independent. And
now I would,
if they hate it, it's got to be something good about it. That's my logic.
I would shoot myself if I didn't ask this one last question, and that
oh
is,
my God, don't do that.
I know, because so many people say you had Timothy Leary there. Why didn't you ask him? And we have really tried to shy away from the recreational uses, so we don't want to make it a long respond. But do you feel that when consumed as a recreational plant, that it can bring you more in tune with your own being, with your own self, maybe put things into better perspective? Or is it like liquor, when you drink it, you're just so out of touch that you don't know what's going on?
Well, I spent 40 years scientifically studying the various botanical, vegetable gifts that the plant queendom has given the mammalian animal kingdom. And there's no question in my mind that the mushrooms and marijuana are the greatest gifts given to us by the vegetable, the plant, the kingdom. You can misuse marijuana. It does make you, there are like three dangerous side effects of marijuana. One is you kind of see too much, and that makes you kind of a little spacey, because you know you just do see so much. And the second is short-term memory loss, like you forget what you were talking about. And the third dangerous side effect, I forget. No, don't ever smoke marijuana or use marijuana if you're going to go to school, if you're going to do anything that requires attention, concentration. It's just absolutely stupid. Do not use marijuana. Marijuana should be used for moments of real celebration and of glorification. And the one thing about marijuana is it's not a loner. It's something that you do with somebody else.
Okay.
The idea that someone would go off and smoke marijuana by themselves, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Kind of like doing this talk show that we've had the chance to do today.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for being a guest on our show. I'm being told by the side people here on the sides that we need to wrap it up. And I tell you, you've given us a lot of food for our minds.
Well, I'm all behind your cause, and it's an honor and pleasure to be with you, and thanks to the crew who did a great job.
I'd like to have you back on again sometime.
Okay.
Thank you. And the next time you see me, remember that you'll know it's time for hemp. So please join in, look around, tell your friends, get copies of the show, send it off to governors, send it off to senators, send it off to people whose minds are closed. Tell your friends about it. If you are a victim of this war on drugs, and feel that bringing your story to us might enlighten it to the nation where we can help make a change, please let us know. If there's people in your community who need to be focused on, please let us know. And if you have a challenge regarding any of our statements, remember Jack Herer once said, $10,000 to anybody who comes onto this show and disproves our findings. Jack Herer stands behind that statement. It's an honor to have him on our show. And again, I'll look for you the next time. Thank you.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found magical butter. Magical butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us